Our top story of the day, the global IT outage rippling through multiple industries across the world. Massive tech disruptions linked to CrowdStrike are affecting businesses across the world, including airlines like United and American, as well as shipping and freight stocks. FedEx, Union Pacific are among the latest names coming out saying that their companies are experiencing some delays over shipments. A statement from the New York State Chief Cyber Officer saying that there is not yet a timeline for full restoration from the outage. Now, CrowdStrike shares are sinking. For more on what ultimately this means for CrowdStrike going forward, we want to bring in Shaul Eyal. He is TD Cowen's managing director. Shaul, thanks so much for hopping on with us here this morning. If we could just put up an intraday chart here of CrowdStrike, because we did see a huge movement to the downside ahead of the open. Shares had been off just around 15%. Now we're looking at losses of about 9.5%. How are you looking at what ultimately this outage means for CrowdStrike specifically here going forward?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I think what we have seen over the course of the past hour or so, this kind of swing back to from 20% down to 9% right now, is management being able to come out, properly address the early part of the outages, come out with some sort of an early message that this is first, it's not a cyber attack, this is an outage, this is an unintentional type of outage, more of an update-related, reversible type of a problem. It will take probably a couple of days to rectify and remediate that, but I think the straightforward message that it is under control, I think has been alleviating some of the initial concerns earlier in pre-market.
Shaul, I want to take a step back because I think for people at home who aren't experts like yourself, they're looking at this and thinking, how do we get to a place where our world can seemingly crumble for a lot of folks this morning who are traveling, for example, because of one or two companies? Give me that context, and especially for our viewers who are feeling concerned about that.
Absolutely. The field of cybersecurity and the need to detect, respond, remediate, and defend so many applications, I think that pretty much kind of shows how mission critical it has become. I think we have been seeing a gradual shift to consolidate the market, whereby enterprises have been using a couple of vendors rather than multitude of a big number. I think that could potentially be questioned longer term. I think some of the infrastructure which has to do with that consolidation also could potentially get another boost longer term. I think that, again, the consolidation around a handful of players, by the way, as we have seen in some other tech arenas, could potentially be questioned longer term.
Shaul, is there a way to prevent something like this from happening again?
I think that constant cat and mouse chase between bad actors, white hats and kind of black hats, I think that pretty much is likely to remain, unfortunately, unchanged. I think it's not a matter of if customers, enterprises are going to get hacked, it's just, when. We are yet to see one conclusive solution that pretty much shields the entire organization. At times, as we have seen today, it's an unintentional update. So again, not a cyber attack. But I think we're still long from these days whereby we could be able to announce that the cyber security issues have been one and foremost resolved. This is a very, very unfortunate fact.
And we should mention it's not just, of course, these cyber stocks that are being impacted today. We've been covering all morning the bank names, the retailers impacted, just to name a few. From your perspective, though, as someone who focuses specifically on these cyber names, how much of an impact could a day like today potentially have on those company earnings moving forward?
I would imagine in the near term, as we head into a second quarter earnings season, probably it wouldn't be much of an impact. I think it will have to do pretty much with the second half of 2024. And as we start taking a peek into 2025, what we could be seeing within this time frame is actually a little bit of an emergency spending patterns that, by the way, we had seen with such sizable former cyber-related attacks and outages. So you can argue from a near-term perspective, actually today, which on the one hand, very, very unfortunate to many verticals and customers and patients and what have you out there. Longer term, from a near-term perspective, we could be seeing actually upside to some of these companies' results and estimates.
So when we look at the market's reaction, we mentioned the fact that CrowdStrike shares obviously are under pressure, not necessarily a surprise, but some of their competitors are catching a bid today. You look at Palo Alto Networks, that stock is in the green. Also look at a name like SentinelOne, shares there up just around 4%. Are those stocks going to benefit here, or do you see them potentially benefiting because of this issue here from CrowdStrike?
I would imagine also that the issue of the need to beef up redundancy could bring up several names, as you've mentioned, as potential beneficiaries. The fact that maybe an enterprise cannot base their entire infrastructure or on one or two providers with a need to go maybe 3, 4, and more than that could be broad-based beneficial to many of the names. SentinelOne, given they compete head-to-head with CrowdStrike, Palo Alto also in that respect, I think are being viewed right now as near-term beneficiaries as we think about their end-to-end platforms.
Shaul, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on this developing story this morning. We appreciate it. That was Shaul Eyal, TD Cowen's Managing Director.